All right, hi everyone. My name is Kai, and I'd like to welcome you to our physically based rendering PBR new render systems webinar. We're going to be this one's going to be hosted by Christian Morris, who I'm going to put on in just a moment here, and we're going to talk all about the physically based rendering system in iClone 7. Before we do that, I got a couple things I wanted to mention here, though. We're going to be recording this webinar, so if anything goes too fast for you, if you miss something, we'll be sending out a link for you guys you can watch at a later date, so don't worry about that. We're also going to be sending out a survey to everyone, all the attendees of this webinar. If you fill out the survey, we'll be giving you a $10 gift certificate for the content store. You can spend on whatever your little heart desires in the content store, so make sure you fill that out. It's valuable for us for feedback and future webinars, any topic that you'd like to ask. In addition to that, the last 10, 15, 20 minutes of the webinar are going to be focused on Q&A from you guys. So if you have any questions, make sure you put those in the questions section of the GoToWebinar panel there, and we will get to those questions at the end of the presentation. We're going to go into the presentation in just a moment here. So I'm going to go ahead and hand the reins over to Chris Morris, aka Stuck on 3D. Now, Chris, just a little bit of an introduction here. Chris is has been in the 3D industry for many, many years. He's been a 3D generalist for 25 years. He's been a lighting and compositing specialist for 15 of those years. He's worked on stuff, Emmy award-winning stuff such as Star Trek Voyager, Deep Space Nine, commercials, motion rides, and his credits also include 13 animated films from DreamWorks and Disney Animation, things titles such as Shrek 2, Big Hero 6, Frozen, and Zootopia, a lot of those that won Oscars as well. He's also an art director for Westwood Studios, the Red Alert 2 franchise, and a senior lead artist for Disney Interactive as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make Chris a presenter here. I'm going to hand the reins over to him. Just a moment here. We can get this to work on the GoToWebinar there. All right. All right. And Chris, you should be able to hear me there.
I sure can. Can you hear me?
Yep. All right. We're good to go.
Fantastic.
Take it away.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Kai. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am super excited to be here and share with all of you iClone 7's brand new awesome features. However, since there are so many of them, we decided to break this webinar into multiple parts to make it, less overwhelming and more manageable. So this part will concentrate on the PBR side of the rendering system, and we'll cover the following topics. What is PBR and why does it look so good? Here I will give you a brief introduction about physically based rendering. Next, we'll go ahead and we'll be understanding real-world materials and how PBR mimics them. And we will do so by analyzing some photographs of real-world objects, and we'll shine some light on those objects and see how the materials behave. And with some diagrams, I will explain why they do what they do. After that, I will show you how to import some very cool free content into iClone so that you can play and practice with a brand new iClone 7. After that, we'll go ahead and actually get inside iClone, and we will use some of those models and HDR images that we import for our tutorials. And there I will cover how to set up a proper PBR environment. I will show you how to convert legacy content from previous iClone versions, because we all know we have a ton of that. And then also how to convert some of the imported objects as well. And then after that, we'll cover a feature that is very important for PBR, and this is called Ibl Baking. And this will allow us to have some more realistic reflections onto our objects, since the PBR system then does not allow you to have true object-to-object reflections. So using this method, you can get a lot better quality out of your models. And then after that, we'll have a Q&A session, which will cover all the topics that we talked about. So let's get started, because we really have a ton of stuff to talk about. All right, so what is PBR and why does it look so good? So basically, PBR stands for physically based rendering, and it has become the industry standard. And a lot of the content creation tools such as Substance Painter, 3D Code, Sketchfab, Marmoset, and even real-time game engines such as Unity and Unreal are using it now. And the beauty of all of this is that because they all use PBR, the physically based rendering system, the shaders are very, very similar from package to package. And the cool part is, of course, iClone now has it too. So you can import objects from all those packages, and you could get a pretty good one-to-one representation of that. So you have physically based rendering, image-based lighting, and global illumination. All these features are really, truly putting iClone 7 worlds apart from previous versions. Why? Well, let me explain it. So in iClone 6, to get a good image, you actually had to know a lot about lighting. And you had to fake it all. You had to add a ton of lights just to fake out real lighting situations, such as bounce lighting. So look at all these lights that I had to add in this scene just to get a little bit of bounce here on the furniture, a little bit of bounce there in the ceiling, just so that it looks good. You know, it looks something familiar to what you're used to watching in real life, right? So the bad thing about that is, even if you knew how to do all that and you had a lot of experience in lighting, as soon as you changed the lighting conditions, everything would break. Look how dark the furniture became and how rough the materials behave with a new lighting condition. You had to retweak all those materials again. Now with iClone 7, everything changed. Once you set up those physically based materials correctly, not only you end up with less lights to light with. Right here on this scene, you only have one directional light, and this is what we call a kicker light, so you get a little bit more light on the face, and that's about it. The rest is all global illumination, and look how beautiful that is. And when we change the lighting condition, it just works. Same lights, same condition, and here we only added what is called an emissive surface, a light emissive surface, and look how beautiful and soft that light is. Super wonderful. Makes life a lot easier and what makes this look so good is because the physically based materials behave correctly when light bounces off of them. So if you follow very simple rules, you'll be able to create materials really well. And I will explain this in the following tutorials. So the basics of all of this is this. Let's go ahead and dive in and see what I'm talking about. All right, understanding real-world materials is the key for good PBR mimicking. So it is said that surfaces are divided into two types: metals or conductive materials, or insulators or dielectrics. And it all has to do with how the roughness behaves on each material type. So what do I mean by that? So let's take a look at this image and analyze it. First we'll take a look at the spatula over here and the rubber specifically. When a light ray hits it, it scatters the light. And the more the light scatters, the more diffuse the light becomes. This is what we call diffuse bounce. However, on smooth surfaces that have very low roughness, a light ray will just reflect off the surface perpendicular to what is called a surface normal. And this will give us what is called specular bounce. And it all has to do with how rough those surfaces are. So here's a simulation, a very, very wiggly drawing, but if you zoom in with a microscope, just imagine that. The surface here is super rough, and what it's making is forcing the light rays to scatter really, really a lot. And what this gives us, the more rough the surface is, it will give us a very dim hotspot or reflection, hence diffuse bounce. However, if we go here to the smoother surface, what's happening is, because the rays are not scattered as much, they're keeping pretty tight, you get a much hotter hotspot or reflection. So that's all basically there is to it. So iClone is based on a metallic roughness workflow, and it works simply like this. For metallic, everything that's white will be metal, will behave as metal. Anything that's black, it will behave as an insulator, such as rubber, wood, things that are non-metal basically. And then the roughness will dictate how shiny those things are going to be. So the rougher they are, the duller they become. So for roughness, white represents fully dull object and black represents super shiny objects. That's all there is to it. So once you start analyzing real-world objects, then you'll be able to translate this quite easily inside iClone to make the materials look like they behave, like they should, and behave like they should. All right, so let's go to the next topic here, which is important content to get you started. Now, iClone does come with quite a few objects already. However, if you need more, there is always a cool place to go to. Now, first, I want to go to a website called Sketchfab. Here is where you are going to get models. When you go in, it's going to greet you with your name, not mine, because you're going to have to sign in for that. Next one, you can go to Explore, and you will see a ton of objects here available to you. However, not all of these objects are downloadable. To do so, just go ahead to the filter and click on Downloadable. Pretty easy, right? And these are the ones downloaded just this week. Imagine the incredible amount of libraries that there are in here. There are a ton and ton of objects. You can find just about anything in here. So if you want to see all the models available, just take this week's out, and these are all the models that are downloadable and available now. Now, we're going to get a couple of objects here that we're going to use for our tutorial. So the one I'm looking for is a heavy-duty pickup truck. So I'm going to type heavy. And there we go. There's the truck I'm looking for. This was done by Willie the Carpentry. Thank you very much, dude, for this object. It's absolutely awesome, by the way. All right, so let's go ahead and download this. I already done so I don't have to. However, one thing I want you to watch out is that this is in a DAE format, DAE format, which is a Collada format, and 3D Exchange does not support this. So you're going to have to use another 3D package to convert this. Blender is a good package for you to use. It's free and available right now. And I will show you real quick how easy it is to convert the model from a Collada model to an OBJ. OBJ is a perfectly standard format for objects, and 3D Exchange can use those. So we'll do so on that real quick. Next, the other model we're going to get is a genie lamp. So we type here genie. Fingers are not responding, sorry. There we go. Genie. There we go. There's the lamp right there. Okay, so this will be the next model we're going to be using and taking over inside iClone. This is an FBX, so it will work out great. This goes straight into 3D Exchange, so this is exactly what we're looking for. All right, so these are going to be the two models we're going to use. Next, let's go to another website. This one is called HDRI Hub, sorry. And this website has great HDR images for your image-based lighting. And they're very high quality and resolution. The free samples here are fantastic. So check them out, and you can try them out. I mean, they are 8K resolution, and they even come with backplates. That means you can actually do compositing inside iClone, which is really, really, really wonderful. All right, so once you download a few of those, we'll be ready to get started inside iClone. Okay. So let's move on to the next subject here, which is working with Pbr inside iClone. Now let's get iClone started here real quick. iClone 7. All right. So before you get started, you have to make sure that your iClone's environment is set up for Pbr. Now, in iClone 7, by default, the default scene already sets you up with that. So, however, if you happen to import a scene or open a scene with iClone 7 that belong to iClone 6, you will have to go to through the following setup. So you go to Project Settings, and you can either go through here by clicking this icon over here, or you can get it from the Edit menu and click right here. Or if you like using hotkeys, Control-Shift-P, and that will bring it up again. So in here you will see that right now we are in Pbr mode, but if you import a scene and you happen to open iClone 7 with that scene, this would be saying traditional. So in order for you to convert it to Pbr, all you have to do is go Pbr, and then run the Pdr Setup. This will do several things. A, let me shrink this up for you. A, it will make your ambient color to pure black, which is very necessary. Next, it will add an IBL for you, a default IBL. And then 3, it will convert all the models from traditional to Pdr shaders, all in a single bounce. So I'm not going to do this because our setup is already set up properly, but I just wanted to give you a heads up. So in case you do import something from a scene from a previous iClone version. Okay, so we're pretty much ready to use that cool truck. We downloaded. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my content, props, custom. And inside custom, I'm going to do a quick search for truck. And there it is. Let's download that truck. Okay, so one thing I want to mention is the conversion process. So let's go real quick here into Blender so I can show you what I mean. Let's open up Blender real quick. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this cube because we don't need that inside the scene. So since it's already selected, I press delete and OK. Next, I'm going to go ahead and import that truck model that we just saw inside iClone. So it's going to be a colada. And I'm going to go to the folder where that model is real quick. All right. And heavy duty source model. There we go. There's our model right there. Now I'm going to right click on the ground because we don't need this ground plane and just delete that. And next here, I'm going to go to the UI. And I am going to shift select all these models. And next, I'm going to go to export, OBJ, and I'm going to put it in the same folder where I took the model from, just to keep everything nice and tidy. All right, so obviously I've done this already. So basically I just changed the untitled to truck and just saved it. So that's all there is to that. All right. So that's how you convert the truck. Yeah, I really want to quit. Now the next thing we're going to do is I will show you how to get the conversion started for the Genie lamp. So we're going to go ahead and open 3D Exchange because we will need that model. And you could simply go through File, Open over here to get the model. Or you can just drag it in here. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my folders here and I'm going to bring this over here so you guys can see it, what I'm going to. And we're going to go for the lamp over here and go to source. And here is my model. So I'm just going to go ahead and just drag it there. All right. Just say OK. All right. So I'm going to move this back in here on the side and open this up for you guys. All right, so we got the lamp over here. And let's do a couple of things. I'm going to go ahead and put a couple of textures in on the lamp to start with. And let's go ahead and move this a little bit upwards. Okay. All right, so I'm going to right-click drag onto the model and put the albedo map inside the diffuse map. All right, pretty simple. Next, I am going to grab the normal map and drag it, right-click drag in there, and save it as a normal map. Okay, so now we have a couple of surfaces there to start with. So when we export the model, they'll be there already. Now, the next thing you want to do is when you import a model from another website is to check the scale. Now, this is a standard height for one of our iClone characters, and look at that lamp. It's pretty huge. So I'm going to scale that down. I'm going to go ahead and go to the root node and press R to scale it down to something more appropriate, something like that. Next, I'm going to go and reset transforms so it zeroes out any scale that you've done. So now that becomes the standard scale. And next, you can go ahead and just export the model. You can even export as FBX if you need to, and then or OBJ if you need to. But for iClone, we don't need that, so we just go ahead and click on export, and it will save it in an iClone format. And also, you can actually apply to iClone, and it will send it to iClone immediately. So since I already saved this, we're not going to do that, but the function is there, and it's pretty easy and straightforward. Okay, so let's close this up. So make sure we cover that. All right, let's get back into iClone here. All right, so we have our super awesome pickup truck here, and look how good it looks right off the bat here. I haven't done anything yet. So this is the default environment, and the default environment comes with a couple of lights. So I'm going to turn this off so we can really appreciate the image-based lighting inside this scene. So I just turned those lights off, and now notice, however, that the shadows disappear. Okay, and this is because even though we still have image-based lighting turned on, it does not actually IBLs do not actually cast shadows. So you actually need a light source to cast the shadow. And however, if you need something to cast shadows but not a light, it's just a new format here called shadow casters. These are lights that do not emit actual light, but they do emit shadows. So if I click on this and turn it on, look, we have the shadow back on. Not only that, the shadow casters allow you to increase the darkness of that shadow. So if I move that around here, like so. So let's move this a little bit here, like that, and make it fit a little bit better. Notice that the background is a little blurry. Here is one of the, let's go through the UI so we can really cover all the features here. So activate is self-evident. It's basically you turn the image-based lighting on or off. This is what the image we're actually using. Next is IBL strength. This will pump up the intensity of the lighting as well as the reflection. Remember, Pbr system does not have true object-to-object reflection, but this is how you fake that out. Next is IBL clip. We'll talk about it in another webinar. This is related to animation. This allows you basically to switch over time from one IBL to another. Very cool feature. Next here is show our sky. This is very cool because before we had this, you actually had to go to the scene tab or go to the sky, then open the sky, and then make that visible. Right now, you can do everything within this UI right here. So it's pretty wonderful. After that, we have two, what is called sync sky, and this will sync the sky with the IBL. So if I press Shift-I, you will notice that as I rotate my IBL, it also is rotating the sky with it. So this will give you a pretty good idea where you can explore where the main light source on that HDR image is. So very handy feature. And notice how the background is blurry. This is because we have a little bit blur of here. Now if we take this off right now, take it to 0, now we're back to being sharp again. And next is image. This is what syncs the image with both the sky to the IBL. You can actually sync and unsync this, so you can have a different image for your sky and still have the IBL or HDR to illuminate your objects. So very handy feature, and it makes it very powerful to combine those things. Okay, so the next thing is sky settings. This allows you to go straight into our sky modification without actually having to select the sky again, going into the scene tab, sky, select sky. You can do it all within the IBL UI. So super time saver, for your workflow. Next, we have what is called Bake IBL. We'll talk about this on our last tutorial, which is basically a way to bake the models that you have inside your scene onto the image and onto the HDR image, so it will reflect those objects. It will look like it will actually reflect those objects. Very cool technique. I will show you that on the last tutorial. And last but not least, you have your transforms over here, and basically this is to bring out the widget so you can spin around the IBL and you can really see what the materials behave. This is a good test. But let's say you don't want the sky or the background to move with it, so you can go ahead and unsync the orientation. So now I notice that as I move my IBL, the background stays put. So this is a good thing. So once you have the angle you like inside this for the sky or for the background, then go ahead and sync that and then play with the IBL to get the best possible lighting on the model itself. And you can get get the most out of those reflections, definitely. All right, so right now we have this interior scene. So however, we want to switch this. I'm going to press Shift-I here to deselect the widget. And I will show you how to go ahead and start changing this environment. We'll go from this interior to an exterior scene. So to do so, you can go ahead and just click here on load, or you can go ahead and just click drag. So that's what we're going to do here. I am going to go ahead and here, let's bring this over here too. All right. And this is one of the HDRs I downloaded from that website that I mentioned before. Okay, so I am going to take this HDR and make sure it's the HDR image, not the JPEG image, okay? JPEG image will work, but it does not have the high dynamic range, so you're not going to get the best lighting out of that. It's just not going to work right. So make sure the format is in HDR. So I'm going to drag in there and put it in here. Okay, so as you can see right there, we have our exterior scene. We're going to sync the rotation with the IBL, and I'm going to press Shift-I so that you can see the environment, and also I'm going to rotate the camera around so you get to see this beautiful exterior scene right here. Okay, so we are in an exterior scene for sure. And let's see, let's go ahead and take a look at the truck from this point of view like so, and let's rotate the IBL, so we have that over there like so. So what we're trying to do here is Shift-I. I'm trying to position this truck in a nice place so that it matches what's going on with the background. Now notice that there's a lot of sliding going on the floor. This is unavoidable because this is really a sphere. This is not a flat image. So what I usually like to do is put a model or a prop to cover the ground. So I'm going to go ahead and load something different here. It's what I call a little piece of road here. So I'm going to type road, and all it is a flat plane with a substance in it, with a substance texture that I think is pavement. And it has a little bit of displacement, and see, it kind of raises the sides of the plane, so it doesn't make it look so flat. So here we have a road. See, as we rotate here, it doesn't look like it's so floaty. It grounds the model a lot better. So we're going to do a couple of things here. I'm going to go ahead and extend this. So I'm going to go ahead and select this road over here, and press W. And I'm going to press Control Q so I have a different widget here. Let's see. Make sure that we have that selected. So under props, plane. All right. So in here, I'm going to press W, Control Q to switch, because sometimes you can't grab this widget over here. It's hard to grab. So if you press Control Q, you can click anywhere in the scene and still move the prop around without having to worry about actually selecting the prop. So I'm going to press Control. Now that we have a better grasp here of, we can see the widget better, I'm going to press Control, and as I drag, this is going to create a duplicate object of that road, so we can basically extending the road over here. That's all there is to this. And next, let's go to our IBL setup and go to sky settings, and let's bring up a little higher our IBL so that the ground here, it's a little more level to the road. Maybe about 300. Let's see. That will work. Fantastic. All right, that's pretty good. It lines up pretty good. So now let's play a little bit with the lighting. I am going to go ahead and let's crank up the strength a little bit more. And we have shadows, but this is using the shadows that do not emit a light. I'm going to turn that one off, and I'm going to turn my light that actually, my key light, which actually does emit light. And I'm going to go ahead and crank this to make it more intense to about maybe 2, and make the light warmer, so it emulates the same lighting condition as our IBL here. So see, this is beginning to look a lot better and matching this a lot better. So I'm going to go ahead and press the / key to move this around a little bit. So we are matching here the longer shadows that are being created by the sun here, like so. All right, so that looks a lot better. Now let's go ahead and go up here and turn ambient occlusion. And this is a brand new ambient occlusion in iClone 7, which is an advanced horizon-based ambient occlusion. And this is the visualizer. And this is usually good to use because look what happens here. See, my ground is a little bit, it's making the truck float a little bit. And in this, the visualizer actually shows you what's happening here. So this is pretty good to use, not only to get that nice little shadowing in between the nooks and crannies of the geometry, but also to give you a hint. It's like, hey, you know what? This road is actually a little below where it should be. So I'm going to go ahead and press W here and bring that up a little bit so it touches the ground better. All right, so now that's grounded. And we can make actually we can darken our shadows. This is a brand new feature as well. This is shadow darkness. So you can see here, as we've done, we're going to try to match the shadows that are happening over here. So that looks pretty good. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to make the reflections work much better here. But I don't want to move the background. The background I want it to stay still. So to do so, as I mentioned before, all you have to do is uncheck the orientation here. All right, hold on a second. There we go. And now if I press Shift-I, this will allow me to move around the IBL so we can pick the best reflection on the truck. So that looks pretty good right there. Or let's see, actually that looks much better. You have some nice reflections on the side of the truck going on there. So very, very useful feature. So now we go ahead and we can make that invisible. And that's pretty much it. This is how you set up an environment and how you blend in something with the background. By the way, we're just touching up here the surface here, and we've already done quite a few tutorials on many things like shadow catchers and shadow casters and many other topics. So check out the links below if you're interested in a particular topic. All right, so let's move on to the next one. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a brand new scene since we don't need this one anymore. Actually, let's go ahead and create a brand new scene and bring in that lamp that we imported previously. So I'm going to type here under my props, lamp. Let's see. There we go. And here's our lamp. So I'm going to double click on it, press F to bring it forward. And as I showed you before here, we already put a couple of textures. We put a diffuse and a bump already. However, you will notice that the model comes in with traditional shaders. And in order to make this look good, and like on the website from Sketchfab, we need to make this into Pbr. So to convert an object from traditional to Pbr, you go to our Modify tabs, Materials, and under Texture Settings, Shader Type, and you switch that to Pbr. You will notice two things, and I will turn this back again to traditional so you can see. Notice here our specular and reflection materials disappear, and they get turned into metallic roughness. And this is the workflow that iClone uses for PBR, for the PBR system. There are other workflows out there, and we will do some tutorials so that you can convert from one workflow to another. So don't worry about that. Right now, we'll just concentrate on this one. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring the other materials that model, that Genie lamp came with. So I'm going to go ahead and click and drag these in. So here are our materials right there. So the first one we're going to bring in is our the metallic smoothness. So we will put this one, left click drag in there for metallic. And then we will take the same texture, since they're using the same one to do two things. But instead of smoothness, because smoothness is the opposite of roughness, we have to make sure that we select this texture. I'm going to double right click to bring up what is called the adjust color panel. And you can do so by clicking in here as well, by the way. So it's the same thing, but it's a lot easier to double right click on the image. And we're going to invert this. Now, notice the lamp. Let's take a quick look at the lamp here. See how it looks quite dull all throughout? This is because the materials are not set up correctly. The roughness is rough in the wrong places. So if we invert this, all of a sudden, look at that. You have beautiful, shiny metal where it should be, and dull where the paint is where it's painted. And where it's painted metallic is actually shiny as well. So this puts us really close to what the actual model looked like before. So if we bring in, for example, here, our model of the lamp, there we go. Let's take a look at this. And one thing that it makes, what's going to make this match better is the IBL. Right now we're using two very different image-based lighting HDR images. Right now here there's like an image of a desert-like, and it's also blurry. And notice here in iClone we have our HDR from the interior scene. So we actually need to change this to make it fit better and to match it better. So to do so, we'll go ahead and I'm going to go here into my media tab, and I'm going to go to textures, and I'm going to get a texture that it's pretty similar to the desert scene. It's not going to be exactly the same because I don't have that image, but as long as it kind of matches, you will get the same lighting effects on the actual surface. So towards the end of this list over here, I have an image that is called Tropical Beach, and it has sand, and it has a sun, and a pretty clear horizon. So that's a pretty good image for us to use. So I'm going to go ahead and undock this area, and I am just going to click drag and drag it in there. All right. So let's put this back in. I love this docking and undocking, very useful. All right. So now we have this nice beach image over here. And as you can see, we have a nice horizon line going on there. We have sand. So all we got to do now is basically make it a little bit dull. And we know that dull is being triggered by the roughness. So the rougher it is, the more dull it becomes. So I'm going to double right click over here. And remember, we inverted this. So instead of pushing the contrast one way, I'm going to push it the other so that we can get this this surface much duller. So like so, there we go. So notice now the reflection is a lot duller. And then I'm going to go ahead and press Shift-I so we can move our IBL. And we can actually get that sun from the image itself, the image-based lighting. So we can match up a little bit better the model from our over here. So that's pretty good. We have that horizon line going on. We have a little sun. It's shiny and reflective. Now, obviously, they have here a lot more lights, and we can actually, turn those lights, some more lights on in here, and crank them up a little bit harder, so we get a more closer effect to it. But the important thing is the material behavior. The lighting, you can tweak and spend time and match it, but that's not important right now because you're going to put this lamp in some other scene where the lighting doesn't really quite match. But the important thing is the material behavior. So here, for example, we can crank the light to 1.5. So we have, see, much shinier. We may have gone a little too dull on the metallic surface here. So let's bring that up a little bit more. So it's slightly more shiny over there. And this model is done. This is quite that simple, very simple. All right, so let's go ahead now, and I will show you how to convert a legacy model that came from previous iClone packages and convert it into something that iClone Pbr system can actually use. And you will see the difference is really night and day. Now, we're going to treat it less like a cooking tutorial here, because if I go and redo the, you're going to see that I've done quite a little bit of tweaking to the textures themselves. And so right now, the top one, as you can see, is pretty obvious. This is the traditional, and the bottom one is our PBR gun. Now, this model came with just one texture, as you can see here, and quite a few of the iClone models on previous versions do this. So how can we make this into a PBR friendly texturing? So the way this is done is two things. Remember the rules that I mentioned at the beginning? All right, let's bring those up and let's go from there. So the first thing the first rule we got to cover is it metal or is it not? Well, let's see. This gun is metal, but the handle is wood. So how do we handle this with a single texture? All right, so let's take a look at this. And I will bring this into Photoshop so you can actually see this much bigger. I'm going to send this image to Photoshop, as well as the texture. I'm going to send that to Photoshop as well so you can see between A and B. All right, so we know that the whole gun is metal except for the wooden handles, right? So for us to mimic two materials into a single one, into a single texture, here I created what is called a mask. And we know that in the metallic workflow, anything that's white is metal, and anything that's black is an insulator or non-conductive material. So it's that simple. I just masked out anything that was wood and I turned it into black. So it's telling iClone, hey, this is not metal, so don't make it behave like metal, right? So and the next thing you have to ask yourself is, okay, so is it shiny or is it dull, right? So notice here that the barrel of the gun is kind of dull, but the golden areas over here are kind of shiny. And the reason I know this, and let's see here in Photoshop, I can show you, is that they interpret that by actually painting the highlight on the texture, right? So this is the way I can tell, oh, they want this to be shiny. So what I did here is, I'm going to send this over here to Photoshop as well. And by the way, you don't have to use Photoshop. Any paint program that you're comfortable with, you can use that. This is just to give you the idea of how I converted these things. So anything that I felt that they wanted to be shiny, I went ahead and I painted that in a black color or a very, very dark color. And everything that I wanted to be dull here, I painted in a grayscale color. So anything in here, you can see here very clearly, and I'm going to press the Shift I again for us to be able to move the IBL. Look at the reflection on the gun over here. You can clearly see that this area is super, super shiny for the gold areas, and all these areas over here where the gun barrel is, which is iron or cast iron, it's dull, so it's not as shiny. And of course, the wood is somewhere in between. So, and this is exactly what we're seeing here in our texturing. And look at what I did here on the wood. See, I painted the areas where I felt there was going to be less contact on it, or more contact actually. So the back had the more contact, because when you hold the gun, actually you're touching that back part. But on the sides, it's still kind of polished because you don't use that part a lot. So this is how you analyze the texturing from a single texture. That's basically use your common sense. That's all there is to that. All right, so and then finally but not least is we have is the surface bumpy or not? And this is where you use your bump map, because roughness has to do with very micro details on the surface. But bump this is where you actually have a lot of actual visible indents on the geometry. And as you can see here, you have some nice little indentations going on there on the gun, and you have some nice extrusions where the screws of the gun are. So, and the wood has a nice grain feel to it as well. It doesn't feel so flat. So basically, I took all the areas, and let's send this over here to Photoshop as well, so you can see what I did here, is every area that I wanted to have some kind of relief surface, I went ahead and left it as grayscale, and any surface that I wanted super shiny, I just painted it black. And this is not shiny, but smooth, actually. Let me rephrase that, smooth. I just left it black, so there is no elevation painted on top of that. So all the golden areas are super smooth. So I didn't paint any little indentations or bumps in there. And the cast iron stuff, yes, it has a lot of little details there as well as the wood. And one last point, and this is important, but it's not critical. And I did this on purpose so that you can see the difference. And I will show you in the next model actually what the difference is. It's the base color uniform. Now, the base color is what gives color to the model. However, as you will see in here, in our legacy models, they actually paint highlights on the models. They paint shading on the models, because in previous versions, they try to simulate everything with a single texture. In Pbr, you don't want that. You want to try to take away all of the lighting information away from the base color and let the shading in Pbr do that lighting for you. So, however, this will not break your model. You know, it still looks good, but it would look even better if you actually painted out all those shading areas and left it uniform. The color, if the color is uniform, you get a lot better results. So just to get a little heads up there. All right, so those are the 4 basic questions you need to ask yourself. And we will do this one more time using this gramophone here. And just to reinforce this, let's see how we're doing in time. We're doing pretty good. We will go ahead and speed this up a little bit, because we might, I really want to cover the Ibl Baking here. So this model again, this is a legacy model. And this one, however, actually came with multiple materials and on the same model. So in order to convert this, you can do several things. You can shift, select all of them, and then go convert to Pbr. Or if you have just that model, you can select the model, and you have this little icon over here with the 2 arrows inverted. You can click on that, and that will convert all of the materials into Pbr. Also, if you have multiple models, I'm going to go ahead and press W here. I'm going to press Control and duplicate my model here. So let's say you have 2 models here now, and you want to convert all those models. You can go ahead and go into the Modify panel and say Convert Object Shaders, and this will convert all the shaders in those models into Pbr. Or if you want to convert all the shaders in the entire scene, you can just go ahead and say Convert All Shaders, and that will make all the traditional shaders be converted to Pbr. So multiple ways to do this to make your life super easy. Okay, so now let's look at the materials here. So in this one, we had our, we have 3 different types of material. I'm going to press B to select our eyedropper, so we select that one material. So it comes with a specular and a bump, and we convert that over here, like so. It will convert that specular into roughness, and give us a metallic surface. And now, again, actually by default, when you do a conversion, and I'm going to do this for this particular one, just you see that, the surface came non-metallic. So it is a good practice for you to follow the simple rules. Is it metal or is it not? So in here, yes, it's definitely metal. Next one is it dull or is it shiny? Yeah, well, this one is actually kind of dull. So we actually had a roughness map here set up. Now, notice that when you create, let's select this model over here, and when you convert the model here into Pbr, it converted that roughness map for you, the specular map into roughness. So you have to tweak a little bit to make it work better for you, but it really does make a world of a difference to do just a few little tweaks here and there, and you can obviously see here what a difference is going from one model to another. Okay, so basically I did the same thing for all those materials. I asked those same questions. Is it bumpy? Is the base color uniform or not? And you will notice here, actually, the base color on this model is really well done because it really doesn't have any lighting information. It's uniform throughout. And all what's happening here is letting iClone do all that shading for you and doing it correctly. So, you know, very, very cool things and things to, you know, keep in mind. All right, so let's talk about reflections, which is our next topic. All right, and reflections are done via the image or the HDR image, because the Pbr system does not have true object-to-object reflection. So Reallusion created this technique for us to use so we can get a much better approximation of those reflections. So let's go ahead and load up a scene here real quick. We'll come up momentarily. There we go, almost there. Ka-ching, there we go. Excellent. All right, so let's take a look at this sphere, and this is where I'm talking about image-based lighting. See, this is a perfectly reflective sphere, and however, it's really not reflecting any part of the kitchen. All it's doing is reflecting that IBL right here. So even though we are lighting with the IBL here, it's really not respecting the walls that are actually blocking that IBL lighting. So in order to do that, not only to get some better lighting, but also some better reflections, we use what is called this IBL Bake. So over here, Bake IBL. Now, you can do this in multiple resolutions. So the higher the resolution, obviously, the better the reflection will be. However, for lighting, if you're concerned about lighting only, you don't have to go more than 4K. I can tell you that right now. Now, if you want to have super sharp reflections, then go ahead and jump in to a higher resolution. Now, the baking process can take a little while. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and just load the bake, something that I already baked. So I'm going to go ahead and go over here to my materials here and just load that HDR with the first bake. Now notice all of a sudden that the IBL has actually the geometry baked inside that HDR image, as you can see here. So this gives us a much better representation of what the reflections should look like. As you can see here, look at that, beautiful. The shadows look much darker because of the occlusion. The geometry is really occluding the IBL, so in areas that it can't reach, it's not going to illuminate. So basically light that's coming through the window. And then we have a little bit of bounce lighting as well there. So this is looking really, really beautiful. Now, there is a feature here called Source Initial HDR for IBL Baker. Now, what this does is basically use the initial IBL that we use, or HDR image that we used, and every time you do a bake, it will always, it's gonna always use this image as the source. However, if this is not checked in, this, what it's going to do is, if you do a bake again, if you do another bake right now, you will notice, and I will show you right now, what happens is, if you do a bake on top of a bake, you're going to get a different look. Look at this. See, it became much darker. And why is that? Okay, so I will show you. Let's bring this image up again here, and I will also show you the initial source. So let's go ahead and bring that other image here. Testing, and send to edit. Okay, so this was the first bake, all right, and this is the second bake. So why are they different? Well, the first bake had the IBLs, the image-based lighting, unoccluded, so look how much brighter the thing is. But when we did the second bake, it took that geometry into consideration. Not only that, because the floor was kind of warm in here, you also get a nice warm bounce on the ceiling here on the bake in the IBL as well. So this is a good technique to do a bake and then a second bake if you're doing interior scenes, because it will give you a nice effect and a more true to life lighting condition. Okay, so now let's go ahead and close this. We don't need that. However, if you want to go crazy, you can even do a third bake, but by doing so, you actually kind of break the illusion of the lighting, and I will show you just so you can see what happens when you do a bake on top of a bake on top of a bake. See, things start to get blown out. So usually a 1 to 2 or 2 bakings are the best effects for doing lighting. For exteriors, 1 bake will do. For interiors, usually a second bake will work. Okay, so one thing to notice here is also that when you do a bake, it's very important to select the place where you want to bake from. So you notice that when I did my bake here, I selected this sphere. This sphere is a dummy object. That means it's not going to render on the final render. And this is where it is going to create that 360 image. It's going to take multiple cameras and take multiple pictures and stitch them all together to do that IBL bake. So this is very important, and it's even more important when you actually doing close-ups, because as I'll show you here in our close-up, you notice that the reflection here on this bowl here is not what it should be. It should be reflecting the statues and the table, but because we're using the IBL that we did when we baked our long shot here, so it looks good from here, but it doesn't look so good when you're looking at it from another angle. So what we got to do is actually we're going to select this model so that it knows that I want to do a bake from this point in 3D space. And notice the pivoting point here. This is something to look out for, and you want to make sure that the pivoting point in this object when you do your IBL bake process is not intersecting any geometry, because if you do, you're going to get some weird artifacts. So let's take a look at what we look like. This will look like on a close-up here. All right, let's go over here and go IBL close-up, like so. All right, so as you can see here, now we're reflecting the table and we're reflecting the statues. That's just the way it should work. But now if we actually move the pivoting point, and I will show you this over here. Let's say that the pivoting point of that model is touching the table. Look what happens to your reflection. So over here, I'll select that. All right, see, it created a hole in the reflection, and you can see the legs of the chairs right through the table. This is because the camera, when it was creating the IBL, was intersecting the geometry. So it's very important to get those pivoting points in the right place. All right, so this about will cover our tutorial, and this will be a good place to have the Q&A session. So if you have any questions, go ahead and shoot. Can you hear me, Kai?
Yep, loud and clear. All right, thanks a lot for that, Chris. And thanks everyone for attending. We really learned a lot there, I guess. We have a lot of questions as well, so let's open up the questions here and we'll get to it. So now is your chance. If you have any questions, put them in the question section. Otherwise, we're just going to go ahead. And so first question is from Dwayne. He says, love
Okay.
what we've seen in iClone 7. How many of my current characters, outfits, props can be used in iClone 7 without degradation? I guess I can answer that one. You can pretty much use everything, all of your stuff in iClone 7. We're fully backwards compatible, so you don't really have to worry about any of that stuff, Dwayne.
Yeah, actually, what's really cool is, and you know, it's like, you know, you and I are working on a lot of tutorials, and the thing is, one of the things that really gets me is that you can like replenish or revive a lot of those old content. I mean, remember this scene? This scene came as a default for the Indigo renderer, so you can export it. Look at this. This is all inside iClone right now. It looks very photorealistic, and the materials look like they should. So and this is like all models that just been revived simply by converting them from traditional to PBR, and just do a few tweaks, and it's like a whole new toy to work with. So yeah, you can definitely use legacy models, and there is no degradation. Actually, they will look better once you put them inside iClone 7.
Exactly. Yeah, the new renders are so amazing, just like you just saw there. Just as good as Indigo, in my opinion, and you get real-time performance as well, as opposed to rendering for such a long time.
Right. I mean, I can play this scene at 30 frames per second. Can you do that in any other renderer?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Exactly. All right, good stuff. Next question comes from Mark. What's your best recommendation for someone who wants to get into previs as a profession? I'm not really in previs myself. I don't know about you, Cris. Have you done previs in the past?
Well, I've been in the movie pipeline for a while, working quite a few movies, and I got to tell you, before iClone 7, it was really hard to move back and forth between an iClone scene and a Maya scene.
Right. Yeah.
However, now with the camera export, where you can match 1-to-1, you can really do all your stuff in real time inside iClone, and then just take all that information into Maya if you need to, or whatever other high-end package you may have. So right now the pipeline is definitely viable, and not only that, the way that you can actually do the previs now in such high quality, it will save you a lot of headaches and a lot of time from you having to create stuff that that you might not need, because you actually can see it inside iClone in real time. So
exactly, yeah. I mean, the quality of previs, if you use iClone, is just insane, compared to what we've seen in the past. I've seen previs videos for stuff like The Matrix and Iron Man back in the day, and they were just kind of basic, like non-textured models.
Yeah, farm shaded text, non-textured image, models at all, because they couldn't play it back because OpenGL was not optimized, and still is not as optimized as you can get it nowadays. So
yeah, so if you're pitching an idea, I mean, you're gonna wow them if you use iClone, because I mean, everything's already there, all the shaders and everything, just the amazing render quality. So good option for you to check out. I think we used to have a previs section on our website. I'm not sure if we do any more, but I think we've updated everything. So
yeah, absolutely. Now that you can actually move cameras back and forth between packages, it's a definite dream to be able to do this in real time. So
yeah.
previs a must. I mean, it's absolutely great.
Definitely. Okay. So hopefully that answers a question for you there, Mark. If you have any questions, additional questions, guys, you can always email me, kai@reallusion.com. That's KAI@reallusion.com. All right, so let's move to the next question from Frank here. Are Sketchfab objects and HDRI hub images used allowed in commercial projects?
Well, you have to read their ULA. So some of them are, some of them aren't. So for example, when you do your download, it will tell you creating commons attributions. So commercial use is allowed. So some of these models say commercial use is not allowed. So just read the information here, and that way you'll know exactly if you're allowed to use in commercial or not.
Definitely, yeah. And I'd like to add there as well, our official stance as Reallusion for using our stuff in commercial projects. We definitely encourage you to use all the Reallusion content in your commercial projects. We just ask that you, give us a reference on your credits. Give us credit for the stuff that you've used somewhere in your production there, maybe in the credits or whatnot. And we also like to get in touch with people who use our stuff to create commercial projects, because we can use it as examples of people who have really done awesome things with iClone. We've done all that kind of stuff in the past. We've had people use iClone to create motion pictures, and like yourself, you've done a lot of great work yourself as well using iClone. So we always like to see what people are doing. We encourage you to go ahead and have fun with using iClone content for commercial purposes. Yeah, so let's go on to the next question here from Frank. Does PBR provide for refraction and transparency? Maybe you can answer that one.
No, PBR does not have refraction. This is something that you are going to have to emulate yourself. As you can see here, there is no real refraction going on here. And however, it is possible to simulate something like this. Actually, I'm working on this tutorial for converting actually a traditional scene into PBR. And let me go ahead and just bring in the animation real quick, and I will show you where the object is not occluded over here. Real quick, let's see.
I wouldn't be surprised if they had real-time refraction in a few years, considering how fast that technology is.
I mean, it's just a matter of time. Like I said, PBR does not have true reflections object to object, but there are ways that you can get around this. So here we go. Okay, so I was looking for this animation right here, and I will show you in a second what I mean. Okay. Give me a second here so I can pass it over here. It's a pretty big render over here. All right, so as you can see, can you see here the floor? See the little effect of caustics that I created here? Now, this is not happening from actually iClone. This is something that I added here. Actually, I use an emissive plane, a light emissive plane that's invisible, and it's emitting light through the glass, and it's giving you this lighting that it actually looks kind of like caustics. And I also added a little bit of color to that plane, that emissive plane, to give a little rainbow-like color to simulate that those caustic and refraction. So you just have to use your imagination and get around the things that that are simply not possible, because you're dealing with real time here, right? So you have to cut corners at certain places, but that doesn't mean that does not look realistic. So
yeah, it looks amazing, to be honest. I mean, from perspective here.
Also the plants don't really have translucency. This is just an effect that is created by putting a light behind the plant, and also using a little bit of GI so it bounces on itself. Mm-hmm. So it creates the translucent effect. So again, you have to be a little bit creative on certain things that that you will not do. No package will do everything for you. You have to use a little bit of your know-how, and or if you don't know how, just go to the tutorials and check them out, because we cover a lot of this stuff, and then you'll see it's like, oh, this is how you can get around it. Okay, that's cool. Okay, we can do that.
Yeah, definitely tons of tutorials out there for you guys. Just check out our YouTube channel. If you have any requests as well, I mean, if you have any requests for future tutorials, we're more than welcome to accommodate you guys. We encourage your feedback for us as well. So yeah, let's move on to the next question anyways. Question from Jeffrey talking about can the model be imported through 3D Exchange? That's a pretty simple one. Yes, basically anything can be imported or exported via 3D Exchange in the general formats, FBX, OBJ, BVH. Is there any others? I forget the other ones. I think those are the standard ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, most people use those. Oh, and we also do, what else do we do? Kind of skipping my mind.
Did you say OBJ already?
Alembic, yeah, Alembic format now.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's it. But basically, yeah, there's different versions of the pipeline that you'll need. The pipeline version, if you want to import anything from FBX to iClone, then I think you can stick with the Pro version. I think there's a version comparison. Just like Google in iClone version compare or 3D Exchange version comparison, and it'll show you what you can do. But generally, the pipeline version is the more expensive one, and that's the one you need if you want to export from iClone into other software like Maya or Cinema 4D or something like that. Yeah, so basically anything can be imported and exported, and like Chris mentioned earlier, cameras as well, which is a big bonus for previs,
Yeah.
one-to-one cameras. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, if you have the pipeline version, you can actually export stuff straight from iClone, out of iClone.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Next one here: can the IBL orientation be animated? From Frank F.
Yes, you can. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Very, very simple. And no, so let's see. Do I have iClone open? Yeah, I do. Okay, great. So yes, so you just go to the IBL. You got to make sure that you got the sky selected and the orientation and images are synced up. So if you bring out the widget, you will notice that if I go over here and have that position there, right, let's extend this over here. This will allow you to, let's move over time. It is, this is definitely, the position is definitely keyable over time. So as you can see here. Yep.
Awesome. Good stuff. All right. So hopefully that answers your question there, Frank. Another question: can metallic and roughness materials be animated? And
no. But oh wait.
You should be able to, yeah.
Yeah, you have to make it into a movie. You have to make that surface into a movie. So since you can bring in animated surfaces, yes, you can. So, but you got to bring it in as a movie format.
You should also be able to keyframe animation the material values, no?
Well, no, but I think he was talking. I don't know if he was talking about. No, you cannot keyframe values because what happens is inside, let's just bring over here this. Let's go to surfaces here. You can key, okay, so like roughness, for example, none of these things are keyable. So you once you do the adjustment, that's what you're going to get. However, what's keyable is, for example, if you have this in an animate format or a movie format, then it will animate over time. So that's what I meant.
Right,
so
okay,
you can change. You can, for example, if in here you can animate the strength from in the timeline. So you go from super strong to weak. So like that. So you can animate that. But the actual textures, you're gonna have to them as in some kind of movie format, so that it will play over time, will change over time for the actual images.
Yeah,
so that's the difference.
A good rule of thumb as well is anything that you see that has green text in the
exactly.
panel, that can be animated, so keyframe animation. So I just saw the metallic and roughness. I didn't see many animatable properties there, and in the adjust color panel you can't animate that. So
you can change that. Yeah, the diffuse color and then all the other parameters here. So, but you cannot actually, the texture itself, you can't animate what's going on here. You can't change the contrast over time and so forth, unless you make that into a movie. So.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I've done that previously with glow maps and stuff, just animating the strength and have something pulsating and glowing and stuff. Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. Let's move on to the next one here. Mark asks, for a static scene, what about when an object or a character moves by a PBR rendered object? Is there a way to use video as an IBL source?
Say that again?
So it says, for a static scene, when an object or a character moves by a PBR rendered object, is there a way to use video as an IBL source?
No, you cannot animate this, if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think that's probably what he's talking about. The wording is a bit strange, but I think, yeah, there's no video format in the IBL.
Right. So, however, one thing that you could do, and this is works really well on reflective objects, but and this is works alongside with a GI, is that if your object is truly reflective. Let's go to materials to make sure that we have this set up properly. And you could fake a little bit of reflection using the specular bounce from a model. But that's the only way I can think of where you can actually, you will see the reflection moving around. What you see in there is not just shadows, but actually the reflection that is part of that's reflecting on the surface here. But That's the only way you're going to be able to reflect an object to object, and it's not going to be very accurate because this is going to maybe it's going to be made out of voxels, so it's not going to be the most sharp reflection around. So, but the IBL itself, no, it does not be. It's not animatable over time. So for close-ups, it's usually, you know, it's like you don't want to have too many things moving around for that kind of stuff.
All right, good stuff. Quick question from Perry here asking about whether or not you used iClone for lighting in the Pixar movies.
Say that again.
Did you use iClone for lighting in the Pixar movies?
Well, first of all, I did not work on Pixar movies.
DreamWorks.
I worked on Disney movies
Yeah.
and DreamWorks.
Yeah.
But you know, Disney bought Pixar, so now it's under the same umbrella. But I did work on quite a few of the Disney movies, and I know we did not use iClone. First because it never had the PBR pipeline, it never had GI, and it never had the camera transfer, and that was one key thing that it was very important in our studio. We got to be able to move cameras from one package to another. Otherwise, this is not very useful for us. But who knows? In the future, you never know.
Yeah, I mean, we're just going up from here. I mean, we've just been advancing and advancing.
Yeah. The jump from 6 to 7 is leaps.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
It's probably the best improvement, I think, in the history as far as I can remember. I mean, and all the new stuff for animation coming out with 6.1 as well, or 7.1 rather.
Yeah, with the animation curve editor, oh, that's going to be so wonderful too.
Yeah. All right, quick question from, well, Lenny asks, how did you import HDR into content? Please show again, I think.
It's very simple. It doesn't have, you can either use your browser to move images around. So, you know, this HDR image, I just move it into a folder here, or this could be this folder or any other folder inside media, for example. So I basically just move one image into one of my folders, and then they will show up in here. So you can do it that way, or you can just simply use the window and just drag that IBL inside our window over here. So if I want to change the IBLs in here, you know, just go back to the clipped one here, just drag it in there, and that will switch it over. So that's how I brought it. That's one way of doing it, or just basically just use your Windows folders to move them all into the same folder, and then go to the content window, media, and I have a whole bunch of PBR folders here, and each one is categorized in different areas for indoors, outdoors, bright, dark, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, one way I like to find the folders that are in iClone here is you can actually right-click on any one of the content items, and then you can select Find File.
Yeah. Also, yeah, if you want to see where you put that particular image, you just go ahead and right-click, and then Find File, and this will open a brand new window, and it will show you where that image is. So
yeah, that's an important shortcut I use pretty often. Yep. All right, let's go to Robert asking, will PBR be the primary tool technique to enable us to get a tiny bit closer to the look of Pixar movies? And
well, that between PBR and HDR and GI, global illumination, combine all those together, and you can totally get that look. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd like to add, like, as much as technology advances, you can see real-time technology like iClone closing in on the you know, the more professional style stuff that takes like days and days to render that it used to take days to render.
Absolutely, and the thing is, of course, in order to keep it real time, they're going to be shortcuts. So, of course, you know, the Pixar renderer is going to have a lot more accuracy in their renders. But is it really important to you to have that accuracy versus what looks accurate, right? Mm-hmm. So it's all about the project. What is important for your project?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, just gonna try and run through a few more questions here really quick. Michael asks, can you render a scene with traditional and PBR items together, or must everything be one or the other?
Yes, yeah, you can do that. Absolutely. I mean, we can just have this bowl over here and go back to traditional. And there you go. It's traditional rendering. So you have both PBR and traditional, and you can render that if you want. Obviously, it doesn't look as good, but it is definitely possible. You know, we can, you know, just maybe crank up the reflection here or something, you know, just to make it look better. But yeah, you can do that.
Okay, funny comment here from Jeffrey James mentioning he submitted a short to a film festival using iClone. However, he used the Indigo renderer. So he mentions if I had iClone 7, I could have made it in 1/10 of the time. I think 1/10 of the time is not even close. Maybe 1/20th of the time, 1/30th of the time.
One fraction of the time,
Yeah.
yes.
I remember rendering a sequence of images, an image sequence in Indigo. My goodness, it took me overnight for like 10 seconds or something like that. It's pretty insane. Yeah, depends on how much stuff is in your scene, obviously, but yeah.
Right.
Thank goodness we have iClone 7, anyways. Okay. Any ETA on the facial mocap? Isn't facial mocap? I think it's going to be.
It's coming in on 7.1, and actually there's going to be, if you go to SIGGRAPH, actually there's going to be a demonstration there. So definitely, if you can, go check it out. I'm going to be there too, also giving some demonstrations as well. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them over there. Not ask them, answer them. So yeah, for sure. And they're going to show both the full body mocap and the facial. So, and a brand new full body as well, which is really, really accurate too. So if you get a chance to go to SIGGRAPH, go check it out.
Yeah, I'll probably be forced to put on the mocap suit once or twice, I think. Yeah, if anyone's in Los Angeles, I think July 30th to August 3rd, right? Make sure you come check out SIGGRAPH. We'll be there, and you can hang out and stuff. So, all right. Question from Dennis: can you talk about how specular color is different in PBR versus the traditional?
Well, specularity is based on the metallic roughness path when you're dealing with PBR. So, and by letting know iClone, the shader, whether it's metallic or not, or if it's smooth or not, it will do a different type of shading depending on those textures that you're explaining to iClone what you want out of that shader. So, whereas in the traditional one, specularity, it was all about the highlights, and here is the shading is much more refined in PBR because a metallic material will behave very differently than a shiny metallic material. It will behave very differently than shiny plastic. So you can see here that if I change right here the metallic and make this obviously go dark and make it look like shiny plastic, we get some very drastic different behaviors straight out, but they're a lot more accurate than you would get from a traditional specular, because you're using a specular map, versus here you're actually using a surface to calculate actually what's going on with the specularity.
Right.
So.
Okay. Good point. All right. So we got a few more questions left, and then we'll sign off for the day. Question from Robert about when we're able to use faceware with iClone.
Well, that's the facial mockup.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So that'll be. You can come check us out at SIGGRAPH to see that, or else 7.1 I think is the official date that I've been given, anyways, for faceware. So that could be.
That's a rumor.
Yeah.
We
can't really confirm or deny any of this stuff.
That's right.
I've been wrong in the past, and people email me like, "Where's my feature?" Blah blah blah. So, yeah. All right. Question from Anthony asking, does iClone 7 come with its own avatars like iClone 6 did? It certainly does.
Yep.
We got a whole new selection of avatars.
It comes with Zane and Jane, right?
Zane and Jane. I know Zane.
Well, Jade.
Jade, yeah, right.
Jade, yes, these two characters right here, yes.
Characters, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. Okay.
Yeah, post-apocalyptic characters, yes.
Yeah. How about that render you did with Zane?
So I've been playing around trying to push the realism out of our renderer here inside iClone, and I've been having a lot of fun. I mean, look at that. To me, that's and I only spent like half an hour, 45 minutes on this. If I really spend a little extra time, I think I can push this all the way to photorealism. But then again, you want to keep this in real time, so you don't want to spend too much time. But this is the kind of quality you can really get out of iClone, spending a little time, a little TLC to the shaders, and iClone is a fantastic render. The iClone 7 rendering engine it's a beast.
Yeah, exactly. AAA game quality is what we're getting
nowadays.
Yeah. I want that jacket, dude. That's a pretty sweet jacket.
Yeah.
All right. A few more questions just to finish off here from Dennis. For advanced situations, iClone 7 supports the time variable of substance, so you can use an animated texture for flowing lava or caustics. Okay, so Dennis mentions here we can use the $ time variable of substances, so you can use an animated texture for flowing lava or caustics in a swimming pool. Okay, so that's a good point. Yeah. Okay, so
right.
with that
for substances, yes,
yeah,
those are animatable. So yeah, you can use those.
Yeah, substance materials are a lot different there. You'll see the little fire logarithmic symbol in the bottom right if it's a substance material.
Yeah, for sure. So if we go over here to materials, go substance over here. All right, and just just drag it on the bowl here.
A bowl made of bricks.
Made out of bricks, yes. Yeah, so once you have this little thing over here, this little icon means it's a substance. And when you go to the substance parameters here, see they are green. That means they are animatable. So you can animate that over time.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Few more. Let's see. We're going to answer a couple more questions here, and then we'll probably have to call it a day since we're about half an hour over here. Okay, so okay, frames per second. Jeffrey asks, just a question mark. I'm not sure what that means, but you can see the frames per second in the top left of the view there.
Yeah. Well, this has to do. Well, obviously, if we're not moving, you're gonna get 0 frames per second. So if you want to move it over time. See, right now I'm getting 60 frames per second. So, and it all depends on the video card, how much memory the video card has. It has to do in the complexity of the scene. It has many factors.
Oh, he just clarified. He just clarified you're rendering at 60 frames per second. So, yeah, you can do that as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It all depends on the scene. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Any upgrades to the hair? I know most realistic hair is probably the most difficult item to render out. The hair, I don't know.
I like the hair so far.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet to me,
So, just here's the same guy with a different style,
Slow down a little bit there.
So yeah, so it's we could use some more hairstyles, so maybe content creators can spend more time in that and a little TLC on that, because it's always good to have multiple hairstyles, but it does come with a few already, and
All right, one final request here from Frank, and then that's it. That's all we have time for. He wants to make the bowl transparent. So how would you make the bowl transparent yourself?
Well, let's. PBR and transparency, they're not very friendly to each other. So sometimes you just need to get around things to make things look good. So, for example, having an opacity map helps. You could, of course, play with the opacity over here. So now that translates more into glass right there. So that could pass for glass right there. It's as simple as moving the opacity. The trick here is also having the right amount of roughness and metallic texture intensity. And one thing I found out also, and this is, I don't know how long that's gonna work, because they make it's a bug slash feature that I call, is that on transparent objects you can actually use the reflection.
Right.
So this is a cool trick for you to use there. So and this actually, if you look at that, this is actually having the reflection move on the glass.
Yeah.
So this is a pretty neat little trick. Hot tips from Stuck on 3D. All right.
All right.
So
Yeah, there's a lot of people saying thanks for all the hot tips there. All right.
So and there are plenty more on the tutorial, so go check them out. We're going to put the links at the bottom here of this video as well, because we just touched the surface here on all the features. There are tutorials that go much in depth onto all the features, so go check those out as well.
Yeah, definitely. We'll be providing you guys a link for this video, like I mentioned, and the links for all those other tutorials will be in the description of that video, I believe. So. All right, yeah, make sure don't forget to fill out the survey as well, guys, for the $10 gift certificate from the content store. And I think with that, we'll sign off. I know some of you, it's probably 3 in the morning or something like that, depending where you are in the world, so I don't want to keep you awake. So yeah, I'd like to extend my thanks to Cris once again for helping us with this webinar. And,
thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Sharing your knowledge with us. All right, so we'll sign off there, and we'll see you guys in the next webinar.
All right, catch you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.